Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 4th meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of the exits around the room and join me as we salute the stars and stripes. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item. Is the sound okay tonight? Is it a little loud?
Seems loud to me.
I'll just keep backing away a little bit. The first item on the agenda is continued public hearing for Wright Homes. The applicants are seeking to re-subdivide a lot that was previously subdivided into 3 lots. As a reminder, this is located on Reservoir Road, and Mr. Martin, the engineer who is representing the applicant, is not here this evening. Making a motion to reopen the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We had a chance to do a site walk, 4 of us, and I've discussed it with Ms. Weiser. I have not heard from Mr. Pickett yet. Do you want to add anything about what you saw when you walked the site?
No, I like that. I think that the changes that have been recommended look good from where we were at, and if it goes per the plan, pretty much the latest plan they submitted to us, I think we're good.
Thank you. Ms. Dexter and I had the pleasure of walking with the 2 gentlemen who are here tonight, Mr. Elliott and Mr. Utter. Or not Mr. Utter, we just chatted in the roadway. Sorry, Mr. Elliott was our field guide. One thing that, and they may be speaking about this when I open up to public comment, but they were apparently told by a caretaker that the area that's now in the open space deed restriction might be cleared and leveled. I'm not really sure that's accurate. I was hoping to ask Mr. Martin here what his client intended on doing, but this has already been subdivided and that area is an open space. And it's going to continue to be an open space per the newest plans.
We're still not clear on whether the open space restriction from the original subdivision was ever filed.
Right, so that brings me up to a question. When we have open space restrictions, do we have proof that they're filed, or we just have you review draft language? Because if they're filed, they have to have the actual they have to have the grid numbers, correct?
So there's a few different ways to do it. It's a bit harder to file based on an old plat, but that would have been one parent piece of property. There would have been a meets and bounds description, or could have been a meets and bounds description, so it could have been filed prior to the plat being filed. I don't know what happened.
Is there a way we can ensure that they're filed? Because we have, if it's a condition, they have to subdivide if they're going to do it into individual grid numbers, as you said. Is there a way to condition or make certain that that happens? Tie it to a building permit?
We usually require proof of recordation before the building permits are issued.
Okay.
But in something like this where the lots don't sell.
And the building permits were never issued. Okay.
But we can tighten it up on this one, especially because we're having a hard time getting information from the applicant.
So then just for the record, I have a few comments myself before I go on. Based on the site walk, there's an installed well that's to the far northeast of the site, and in looking at the new plans, that would need to be abandoned per DC DOH standards because there's a new well proposed for, if you're facing Reservoir Road, this is lot 3, the one to the right, where he's moved the house from the back to the front. He has a new well location proposed, so they would need to abandon the existing well. Someone pointed it out to me when we were walking the site. If there are other 2 wells installed, the other 2 houses haven't moved. Again, the open space has to be removed from the Central Hudson easement area because they have the right to go in and clear that completely, and that's not what you need for open space. The open space restrictions will need to be revised because the lot lines are changing clearly. And I'd like to resolve of if there's any plans to somehow do anything to the area that's already preserved for open space. Any comments from you, Mr. Sotero, other than trying to get a better map, a cleaner map to read?
No, I had emailed around two of our comments. Being that we're going back to the old plan, it seems like it should address everybody's concerns. But like you said, I would like the map cleaned up. It's very hard to read where the lot lines are and the conservation easement and all that. And then also, I think we talked about this at the last meeting, that the lot line has been changed from the original approval, where now that existing dirt roadway where they were proposing the common driveway under the application that caused the controversy, that whole driveway is now going to be part of Lot 1. So I think the last time we talked about, we need to have a note on the map that just says that if there's any potential changes in the driveways in the future, it needs to come back to the planning board for review. So
I agree.
But other than that, and I guess, and depending on any other comments, tonight, I'll write those down in a memo and get those off to Ernie's office.
As I pointed out before, that old dirt roadway is currently in the open space restriction. It will remain in there.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But we also don't want someone just going to the highway superintendent saying, I need to make a driveway here, so that should be added to the map anyway, I think, as a note.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Thank you. Ms. Polidoro?
No new comments.
Any comments from the board? Ms. Weiser?
None.
Anyone? There we are.
I walked the site and it's beautiful. And I was actually really surprised at how little the power lines kind of impact the views. So it is a very pretty site. And I'm just looking at all the work that's being done to slightly marginally move something. And I just have to reiterate what I said. I think the original as it stands now is actually a very viable and beautiful option. And if he was going to look for another option, he should probably just consider recombining it and putting it back to being kind of like a manor type of a lot.
Well, the one thing that he did do, which is probably going to help him from a saleable standpoint, is the house on Lot 3 was moved from way in the back to closer to the front, because with any of these, as you know, the longer, the driveway, the more, the costs are to get, utilities and all that stuff,
True.
back there. So, maybe that'll make the lot, sell faster. I don't know, but that's.
Yeah. It is a very beautiful lot, though.
Thank you, Ann. Chris, anything?
No comment.
Would anyone from the public like to speak? Just come on up. You need to speak in the microphone. Remember, you're on candid camera.
Okay. I just wanted to say, I think when we first opened up the discussion, that you hit on the key point that is a concern, I think, to both me and George, is that the area that is designated as open space remains that, and it isn't destroyed, and like someone said, the original plan is viable. It is beautiful. They can do their thing up there. I just wanted to reiterate, as the board goes through this, that they keep in mind that that open space remains
Untouched.
untouched, undisturbed, not destroyed in any way.
Yeah, as I pointed out in our walk, when you have an open space deed restriction, some clearing is allowed, mainly small trees, things like that, to allow healthier growth of the rest of the canopy. But they can't just wholesale take out trees or anything else. The purpose of this is for conservation. And for conservation, that means it must be appropriate for animals to walk through it. Humans can walk through it passively. And that's about it. No dirt bikes, nothing like that. So, but again, in terms of enforcement, the town doesn't have eyes and ears everywhere except for its residents. And I know you guys are pretty watchful over there in your, as you called it, bedroom community there, that little small area. So if you see anything, please contact the zoning office.
Okay, very
All
good.
right?
And
Thank you,
that's-
Mr. Elliott.
I think that just about concludes it. Thank you for your time and effort.
Of course.
Thank you for coming out.
Anyone else like to speak? When do you guys want to adjourn this to?
November the 1st. I make a motion, we move it to
Second.
November the 1st.
Thank you, Chan, and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Okay, we're going to switch the agenda slightly tonight at the request of the Rogers and McKenzie individuals and the forbearance of the Bellefield individuals. So the next item will be a minor re-subdivision, which is a lot line adjustment under our code for Rogers and McKenzie located at 26 and 28 Rogers Road. The applicants are here. Just come on up and please state your name for the record.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Kevin Barry, 310 Mill Street, Poughkeepsie, on behalf of Pamela McKenzie, who's with me tonight.
Yeah, please speak into the microphone. Thank you.
Mind if we sit?
No, please do.
That's how you can speak into the microphone.
Right.
How's this?
Good.
What are we doing? This is
you want to describe what you're proposing?
Yes, my client is the owner of two contiguous parcels, 26 and 28 Rogers Road in the town of Hyde Park. My client had her mother deed the properties to her, and her mother reserved a life estate in both parcels. Her mother has since passed on, and she's now the sole owner of both parcels. She's preparing to sell those parcels because you're getting ready to retire now. After how many years at Northern Dutchess?
44.
44 years. So she's going to market these properties for sale, and she didn't want to have these issues that would affect the ability to sell the property. So that's why we're here.
It's, I always am instructed to allow the applicants to speak, but it's a very simple lot line revision in the sense that there's some encroachment on from one property to the other, and so this makes it cleaner for you to sell both parcels.
Correct.
It's pretty simple. Before I turn it over to the consultants, we had emailed some housekeeping issues with the initial submission, and I note from Ms. Whitman that they've already seemed to be cleared up, which is very quick timing, so you must be in a rush. I noted that the well is located now on the smaller parcel as well. We still have some questions about the easement for the driveway that's on the larger parcel that's for the now third lot that's to the north. Is there an easement existing for that, or?
I have some research. My title company's going to get back to me on that. I actually did a field study. I walked the property, 32 Rogers Road. It's a very strange setup there, and I don't think that will provide access for the undeveloped lot. I think the access for the undeveloped lot will be further south of the existing house. Yes.
Right, well, either way though, we need to clear up whether they have a right to use it, or we need to put some kind of disclaimer on the plat saying that the planning board is not authorizing it.
We will do that. I've written them, and I actually dropped off a letter at their home tonight. I don't know if they'll respond or not, but we would certainly do that.
Okay, thank you. And because all our subdivisions under our code are average density, we normally request that you assign whatever density is left to a parcel. In your case, this is neighborhood, so it's half-acre zoning. So when you sell the larger parcel, someone could re-subdivide it to create more housing. That's not necessarily real life, but theoretically it's possible is what I'm saying. I mean, it would depend on well and septic distances, et cetera. It depends on the soil capacity there. But when we approve these, we need to show where the density would be. So I believe on the map, it doesn't show that there's already one dwelling unit on the smaller lot. And we'll just need to do some calculations to see what's left and assign that to the other side. It just means that that's a maximum, that you can never subdivide beyond that.
That's fine.
That makes sense.
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
And that's really all I have tonight. We're prepared to type the action as well this evening, so we refer it over to the consultants. Mr. Sotero, any comments?
The only thing is, do you want me to go ahead and mention what we were talking about? Or? Cynthia had mentioned to me, I guess they went on parcel access today, and the 7.5 acre parcel in the back, parcel access has it as, what, about 5 acres and change?
Combined, they're about 2, is almost 2 acres.
597, I think.
So, is that something that you can check into?
I can do that. Our surveyor shows 7 point.
Yeah, and I know John, he's a very good surveyor, so but you know, if there's that big of a difference between them, between that and parcel access, maybe he could just take like a look at it and
I'll have
just,
him look at it.
you know, send an email or something, just like explaining why the difference is.
I tried today when I was with Cynthia to add up the smaller one. It's changed. It's now going to be 0.558 plus what's listed, and it still doesn't come out to the right number. So just a clarification, I should note that parcel access is notoriously inaccurate.
Right,
But
right.
not usually like that.
Right, that's right.
It's just some
exactly.
lines that may be moving
Right, a little
slightly.
bit.
So, thanks, Pete. Anything else?
That's all, no.
Ms. Polidoro, any comments?
Just one comment, the parcel access, again, is still showing this as having the life estate and the remainder, and so we did ask for some documentation.
I will send you over a death certificate.
Thank you. not to be crass.
A letter testamentary or something like that, you mean?
Well, in this case, a death certificate
Yep.
would be appropriate.
Okay,
Listed as an owner.
thank you. And comments, let's start from my right, Mr. Oliver,
No comment.
Ms. Dexter,
No?
Mr. Pickett,
No comment.
Mr. Murphy,
No.
Ms. Weiser.
No comment.
Okay, that means that you've heard very little, which, as I said, means this is a pretty easy thing.
And I've said very little.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As I said, oh, here we are. Yes, we have a resolution. Who has this file?
I do.
We have part 2 of the EAF that was prepared by Ms. Axelson.
Has everyone had a chance? Let me go through and read it. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No. The proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of the land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. The proposed action impact public or private water supplies? No. Public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in natural resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. Everyone agree?
Yes.
Part 2 is read. Now you can read the resolution. Thank you.
Resolution adopting a secret determination of non-significance, Rogers and McKenzie lot line alteration, October 4th, 2017, resolution 2017-38.
Yeah.
Whereas, now therefore be resolved that the planning board hereby determines that the project as proposed will not result in any significant adverse environmental impact and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a little bit of missing information, but that shouldn't be too difficult to resolve. And can we go ahead to the public hearing, since there are no other involved agencies? And would you like us to set that for our October 18th meeting?
Be great.
Making a motion to set the public hearing for October 18th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
You're welcome. We try to be helpful here, I promise.
it. I know that. I see that.
Thank you.
very much, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
And by the way, if you have any questions about anything, you have Ms. Whitman's email. She'll send it back over. Okay, great. Thank you. Do you have the part 2 with you as well? Part 2? Okay, great.
If you want to sign it?
Right, Diane.
Thank you.
Do you want me to switch it?
Yes, let's try switching these lines.
Or I'll just bring them around, because it is the hookup.
Okay. Is that better? Yes.
It's more them than there is of us.
I've never seen them get all torqued.
It's always fun when we have applicants who outnumber the planning board. The next item on the agenda is the Inn at Bellefield. This is the applicants are seeking approval to subdivide and receive final development approval for the 339-acre site located across the McLuhan Institute on Albany Post Road. This is subphase 1A of the overall project. And welcome back, everyone. I should add, in case for the purpose of filming, that the applicants are preparing a PowerPoint presentation.
Plugging everything in.
Are you working with the,
While we're waiting, so that no one viewing at home will be bored, haha, I want to first start out by commending board members Oliver and Weiser for making very specific comments about the architecture, as well as Mr. Hoy for responding so quickly and well and interpreting everything correctly. The reason why I add this is I think it's sometimes difficult for applicants when someone's up here is saying, make it simpler. It's pretty vague, but by specifying add coins, clean this up, remove this, and Chris suggesting the addition of stone to make it more tiered as you walk up, resulted in what I think is a much nicer, more clean and elegant building, and I think it's something that everyone will be proud to see. I may be stealing the thunder from Ms. Dexter, but she just made a comment that I wanted to point out because it's right. She said it resembles the CIA, but it doesn't make you think, oh, it's the CIA and it's just more housing.
Right.
It has a difference and a unique quality, and that goes back to Ms. Weiser's comments from last time, that this is as a gateway entrance to the town. You now will have two pillars that resemble one another but are still different. So, congratulations.
Complimentary. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you guys want to begin? Or do you want to wait for the PowerPoint first?
I think we'll wait.
Okay. I do have a quick question. Have you guys started your variance applications?
No.
No, I think we're getting pretty close now. We're going to refer this to county planning tonight, and I thought we would set a public hearing so we could start getting public comment. So it might be nice to go ahead and get I know we're going to need variances for the sign, I believe.
Right.
Speak to Ms. Moss about the stone wall. It's shown on the approved concept plan, so it may be that it doesn't require one. We're not certain about that. I think there are a couple of other items that might need needed variances. But I'd like to get those going because they'll request, remember they just meet once a month, and they'll be requesting an opinion or comment, a suggestion as to whether they should grant them or not. So the quicker they can get that to us, I can get that back out to them as well.
All right, I'll speak to that.
Thank you, thank you. I didn't mean to be a scold, I promise.
No.
While we're also waiting, I'd like to introduce Lisa Larson from Shaner. She is the head of all the select service hotels that we operate. She's the head of operations.
Thank you, we're honored to have you here.
Her first trip to Hyde Park to see this area, but she's been up in this area before. But it was good. We spent some time looking around for the first trip, and then it was a follow-up trip in November to start really planning and understanding more of the operations and the branding of what we're trying to do. So
That's great.
Come up when the leaves fall.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. It's good that I opened up my remarks by saying it's a clean and elegant building then, I guess.
You always do have a way.
Instead of, oh my God. Huh?
success.
I'm a little off the screen, but that's as close as I can zoom.
It's okay.
We'll deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all PDFs. If you go down to search and just put in PowerPoint programs, it'll list all your PowerPoints too, I believe.
Whatever reason, it's not coming up here. There it is.
It's hiding.
Can you get on that link? You got it. Oh, that's version 2 weeks ago.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. Thanks. All right. So I gotta sneak in here. So, yeah, I'm gonna start real quick. Thank you very much for putting up with us. We're gonna go right into Bill, and then after that, we did bring Tom Johnson. He's the traffic engineer with Chazen to talk about the mitigation that we'll be able to do, okay?
Thank you. As we can see through the various slides, maybe we ought to go to the perspectives probably. They show it the best where we are. So that's the front of the building, trying to take the comments that we had from the last meeting and interpret what it would look like at the front entrance. If you go to the next one, and this is the elevation I think we were all concerned with initially, is when we're coming up Route 9 from the south to the north, trying to understand the actual the architecture, dealing with the FDR stone, the brick, and then the additional items. So we made this area about as large as we can make it, Mr. Oliver. So we try to increase that as best we could within the confines of our site. So coming back to the latest, maybe go to let's go the other way, to the front elevator, the rear elevation. Yeah, this one right there. Yeah, there you go. Next one. Okay. This was probably the biggest discussion as we had last time. And so taking what Mr. Oliver was talking about is trying to bring this whole idea up and around that way. It just wouldn't look right with all stone in there. So what we came up with, what our architect came up with, is this concept, trying to give us the same idea as bringing all this up. I think the comments that the 3 comments that were given to me prior to the meeting was, one, the adding the dental work on top up here, which will comply. That's not an issue at all.
Great.
We'll match up with that. And then the gables, I think, Michael, you were talking about bringing this up just like the front is where almost like this, right? So if we go with the prior to the elevation.
You'll see it on the side right.
So just like this is what you're saying.
That's what, there was a suggestion that was made at the agenda meeting, and I always feel like I should move those on.
So go back to the back one. So taking these ends and doing that on both sides, I think would really help, and it will match into what we're doing on the front side also.
The suggestion was that we reduce some of the mass of the line here, and also better reflect what we'll call it 2 gables, and then a gable as well right there.
Yeah. Well, the other thought would be is, well, this area works out pretty well, trying to reflect this idea of bringing it up. And that's what happens to the roof on the backside also. So the other question that I had was the coins. Which areas were you referring
Ms. Weiser,
to?
I think you meant here. Am I right? Just on that portion, or did you mean on the outsides out there?
No, the bump outs that are to the, not that one, keep going to the left. That one.
There's that long one, there's that long
Yeah,
one,
not-
just to the right.
Not where
This
the field,
one.
not where the field stone covers the first.
Sorry,
floors. Yeah,
got
that.
you. Just those.
those
Okay,
two.
there and there.
Yeah.
Got you.
So do that again, Michael, so I can mark this up here.
There and here.
Okay, so those areas where the hip roof is, right?
Yes.
Okay, sure. No, that's when you get into coins and trying to look at the prominent corners, it's where it makes sense too. And so if we had the current locations in this area here and this area here, and adding more in this area here, we're good. Okay.
I wanted to say that this is not a miracle, but 2 meetings ago, I think, I felt we were sort of all over the map, and I think these 3 refinements are basically all that remains. We'll hear from the rest of the board, but I want to get this done where we have a way to go that's decided now here.
We want to start getting working drawings.
Good.
That's where we're at right now. We didn't want to do anything until we
Well, no.
know all your comments.
Yes.
Obviously, on that piece.
So those are the only comments that I had heard about the architecture. Before we move off that, does anyone want to pipe in and add anything? Some praise? Yes?
High praise.
Thank you.
High praise.
There you go.
Thank you very
Good.
much.
Okay, there we go.
Bravo.
We really appreciate your thoughtful response to our comments and concerns. Thank you.
No, they were very good. Thank you.
Like I said, I think these last 3, that's it, and we should be good to go.
Okay. Good.
And I hope you're happy hearing that, because I am.
Yeah, very much so. But we're at a point where we want to just keep moving now.
Well, it makes my job easier that once these are little, like I said at the very beginning, this is a big thing, 'cause it's a big building for Hyde Park. It's bigger than anything besides the CIA. So for us, it was a matter of making sure it would be something that would last through time to make the residents happy and also be a success for you guys, because as I've said before, we want your business to be successful.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much.
All right, so I'm going to give the board a quick update on where we're at on several things before we get into the site plan. We met with the fire chief a couple weeks ago, sat down with Dan and went over the whole site plan, and he's good to go. We do have to take his truck and do the turning template on it, but he doesn't see any problem with that. So
I can attest that. I spoke to him personally. He called me.
all right, great. We're coordinating with SHPO, and we sent them another submittal today. We should be all set, but we'll see how that goes.
We got a digital copy of the Chris response.
Okay. We're planning a meeting with Dutchess County Water Wastewater Authority. They are the agency that has the water that we're tapping into, so we want to coordinate with them. DEC, we received a note-taking letter or email from them on September 8th. Can I forward that to
Will
you?
you forward it to us? Thank you.
We are ongoing with comments with DOT. We're probably 3/4 of the way through making that submittal. One of their comments, of course, under the traffic comment section was number 2, I believe, dealt with mitigation and at what point
Thresholds.
Yep.
does
Triggers.
St. Andrews, mitigation kick in? So you've asked us to offer a solution or a time when that would kick in. I got with Tom, and Tom and we decided 100 trips would make sense because that's when the traffic impact study would kick in. So he is here. He has that memo that I circulated, of course, internally. Internally, we're all set. I think I sent it to you, Michael, but I'm not sure
You
if the
did.
board received it. But we have 10 copies of it here tonight.
So in essence, the DOT, they had some extensive comments, but their primary one, like you said, was how do you set thresholds? So when all the mitigation measures, when are they going to start? And rather than us dictate it, I had asked Mr. Boudreau to have the applicant make the proposal for us, and so that's for us to discuss tonight. In an email, I had asked Mr. Boudreau how you chose the 100 hourly vehicle trips, and he explained that's, if you have any of that, then it automatically triggers a bigger study from DOT. So that would be their kind of threshold for sensing some sort of, we'll call it danger, Will Robinson. So that seems fine to me. I just want to make sure that the board was comfortable with this as well, because this way we're not tying it to any specific phase. It's just tied to whatever, in other words, as the process continues, they propose new sections of development. They'll be providing us with numbers from the ITE manual, and therefore we would take a look at that, and then once we get it to the threshold of 100 HVTs, I guess that would be, then we would require the mitigation to occur.
That's correct.
Thank you. It was a mouthful for me. Any comments from the consultants on that particular issue?
I was
No.
asking,
Not yet.
100 is trips per hour?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
Yeah, not daily vehicle
You
trips.
did say that.
Yeah, that would be pretty, that'd happen quickly.
That's no business. That's not a good thing.
Yes.
Right, right. Well, I mean, I don't think that you're going to constantly have 100 vehicle trips. I hope not, but yes. So this is at peaks, afternoon peak.
No, I
Does
don't
it
have
sound-
any comments on
And
that.
what number does this
Specific.
bring us to right now?
Specific to that right-hand turn.
Right, this is in terms of the improvements to the intersection that were agreed upon at St. Andrews and Route 9. If you recall, they have to put in a landscape median and then provide a new right-hand turn,
Right.
a forced turn, to prevent people from trying to race up like they do now. So this would be something that, again, since Ann and Shannon and I were up here the last time we went through all this for seeker, if I recall, and you were here too, Pete, if I recall, part of the reason for the mitigation at that intersection were two reasons. One was the significant amount of traffic from the residential portion of the site, because it was assumed that most of the commercial would come in and off Route 9, not being up there, but that because you might, if you live back there, you might not want to go through the commercial. You would just go up around and then come back down that eastern spine. And the other was, of course, the activity that was proposed, the improvements that were proposed at the corner itself. That was all commercial. It wasn't really defined, but it was also approved as a little bit, I think, a 3-story building. So between the two, generating of the numbers, that's what it seemed like. So if they're going to confine, as long as we don't hit that 100 vehicle trips per hour, if they're confining the development at first to the areas where you see commercial, then it may be that improvements is ways off. So we're all agreeing? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, one more hurdle down.
All right, great. So in my submittal to DOT, again, that's one of their questions, and I'll respond that way. That we
Yeah,
spoke
they
about.
more or less said they have to agree to it too, so.
Right, right. Okay, so a couple other updates. Pete, we received your comments, and we have all the SWIP comments done. So I asked Kyle with our office to go ahead and submit those this week to you with all the responses, so we can keep that moving. Michael, we received your comments, and those comments, are addressed in the SWIP.
I figure this was actually, it's been Ms. Moss's big concern. Again, that this development and the stormwater associated with it, if you go just to the east of it where the line rises before it falls, if the stormwater is going to be draining down in through there, is there a way to handle the same capacity without having to go back in and redig inside the buffer, et cetera? So I figured that you'd have that response in there, but I wanted to convey Ms. Moss's.
Right.
Because sometimes Ms. Moss and Mr. Sotero don't, she's the stormwater
Stormwater Management Officer.
management officer, SMO, sorry.
SMO.
Yeah, SMO. There's too many anagrams here, but at any rate, she's SMO and they need to coordinate. So I didn't want him agreeing to something that she wasn't a part of, that's all.
Just, Larry, just going back to our comments, is there anything that we need to get together on in terms of looking at some, like, one of the things I wasn't sure if you wanted just to meet on quick was, I think I had a comment about swinging the access that comes off,
Yeah.
Dorsey Lane, so that's more like set up for like
Yeah.
a through road in the future. But I mean, if you've already got it all set, and I'm just
Well,
offering that we can
to answer
get
your
together.
question, every 2 weeks we want to be on the agenda and make sure we get things wrapped up. But in this case, what I'd like to do is have a technical meeting,
Yeah, it's fine, sure.
off-site thing. That'd be very helpful.
Now, the one thing I have to talk to the town about, and I haven't yet. There's just been a lot of things that have been going on. But I made a comment about looking at the possibility of the town, I would assume, extending the water main south sometime in the future. This is something that we have talked about. Over the years. It was more of a hot button issue when the brass anchor was still in business, but I know that there's some commercial establishments down in the south, one being another gym who has a chloride issue, and I know that the Speedway, they have a lot of water quality issues. They had to put in a fairly significant treatment system. So I just didn't want to preclude the opportunity of the town looking at it. And you are bringing, which I completely understand. You're tapping the main. where it is, and you're bringing it up through,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
site.
Right.
So I just want to, I just want to talk to, the town about whether we should look to see if we can get you guys to extend the water main a little bit more to get down beyond, the pavement area, and then possibly give the town an easement, in case it ever wants to get like extended.
All right, so we're about right here.
Yeah.
now. So you're saying just push it down there, and then all it simply would be is an
It's just
easement
an
from there to
easement.
there.
Right, to get out, to Dorsey Lane. And again, I just, if the town says, you know what, we're probably never gonna go do that, then that's fine. Then I wanna make sure that we have the discussion, so that if it is something that says, yeah, you know what, it wouldn't be like a bad idea, that at least if we get it like set up so that if we ever did wanna do it, we have, the mechanism, rather than having to go back up, like 9 again and, retap it or something.
I can make
So-
a quick point. The road doesn't look like this anymore. This is the old
Right.
concept plan. The road actually now it's straightened out.
Right.
It comes about right here. Are you asking that they bring, there we are. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
You're
you.
asking them to bring the water main up to here?
No, it's,
Okay.
we'd have
Here.
to, we'd have to sit down, and we can go look
Yeah.
at it at like
Because
our meeting.
there's a stormwater area, I believe, with the, I forgot what it was. I thought it was a swimming pool or at first, but at any rate, the lab, whatever it was called. We want to make sure that you stay out of that area, I would assume.
Yeah, well, we can, hopefully next week, early next week, the supervisor and I have to get together on a bunch of things.
Okay.
She's been
Right.
Out of town.
They're
So
gonna
that
have
was
to
one of the
bring
things we were gonna,
Probably
discuss.
bring the
this
gas
week.
in from Dorsey too.
Yeah, the other issue, just to explain to the board and anybody in the audience, there are water quality issues south of this site owing to the plume of the
there
MTBEs.
was- yeah.
That affected where Steak and Stuff and the CIA now is
That's
because.
gone now, though.
It is?
Yeah, the
Good.
big issue there is,
Chloride?
chlorides,
Okay,
very, very high in chlorides,
okay.
so.
Well, again, the offline meeting that we have would be very helpful, because there's, of your comments, I have a bunch here saying, discuss tonight, but,
Yeah, we'll get together, that's fine. And then if there's, once we set it up, we'll let, any of the, planning board members, if, 1 or 2 want to come, that's fine.
Okay.
Add, of course.
All right, there are changes that we are doing to the site plan, so Chris, why don't you, of course, wait, back up, just so everybody knows, again, this is where we are, Zone 3, Block G, that ties in there, all right? Okay, so I'm just going to head off this discussion that we had over the past couple of weeks, but we are going to go ahead and get a sidewalk on this side here. We have one here. We pushed it back off the curb. We already moved this wall to accommodate it, but we're dealing with both DOT comments and town comments, so we are going to extend this comment down here. We are going to make the crossing here,
Okay.
as well as here. And my question to this board is, do we connect here and here as well?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
So we're going to go east-west on both sides here.
Mhm.
Right.
And so do we bring a crosswalk across here
Do we have any say?
and there?
At the entrances there?
Yeah, there's no sidewalk that it's tying into, so that's why I'm asking.
I wouldn't say to put a crosswalk at the CIA entrance, just because even if it's DOT right-of-way, I'm not sure they would want to have some sort of say in that. There's no sidewalk on the other side. But I believe a crosswalk at the entrance on your side, so to speak, would be a good idea.
Okay, so cross here, there, and of course this one exists.
Yep. And thank you. As I said, one of the comments from, or DOT made the comment as well, but it's
Yeah.
also, you're losing pedestrian refuge that exists there now if you try to cross over there, because you're going to have turn lanes, going both ways.
Yeah,
So,
it's the right thing.
and I've been sitting watching students cross at West Dorsey when it's just for pedestrian, and it takes a while. So you could actually get a big group of people. I mean, usually it's 1 or 2 students, but you could get probably 20 people to walk across the way. Not infirm ones, but you could get a lot of people to walk in the amount of time that they allow there.
You say sprinters?
Yeah. Sprinters, they could get 50. Thank you, Larry.
Okay. Chris, go on next one. So, nothing new there, although, let me just get this guy. You know, we hear your comment about seeing architecture for that, you know, we get that.
We're going to refer to county. If they kick it back,
Okay, good.
they kick it back.
Good.
But I want to get this going a little bit more. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's time. They may think that it's minor. We'll see.
Okay. And signage too, so that's,
Yeah, so I spent a good 6 hours reviewing the big set of plans we have, as well as the smaller set that was more recent. And I couldn't find a sign detail, and usually county wants to see the sign. And I wondered, are you going to have any signage on the building itself? If so, you need to have an area where the sign would go.
That's a good question. Because where we are located, we're going to probably rely a lot on the signage down below. And being,
wayfinding, yeah.
what's that?
Wayfinding.
Wayfind, yes.
So we
Yes,
have something here, you know, wayfinding signage there, and then of course the main sign would be there. It's a placeholder now, it's not designed yet.
Right, well, so there are two ways to get all your signs. One is of which through the site plan process, and the other would be just to do a separate sign permit. It's $150 for all the signs that you do under one permit. So it's up to you if you haven't resolved that yet. But for the architecture, if you're going to have any kind of signage on the building, it should be shown as just a placeholder.
Also, the sign location may need a variance if it's within the buffer.
Good point.
So you might want to figure that out before you
Yeah.
apply.
All right,
You
Chris,
want
go
a
to the
sign
next
on
one.
the south corner.
All right, so this one here, we added landscaping. So this is one of the things I'll sit down with you, Pete, just to make sure, because that was one of your comments, that were clear on what we added.
Yep.
All right, go to the next one.
By the way, I also went through I just want to point out for everybody, I went through the landscaping proposed for the bioretention ponds as well. Great job. I did, if you go back to the prior, I think it was Ms. Axelson, I think, who wrote that section. She was commenting maybe needing some additional trees in through here rather than just in through here.
Okay.
These, I believe, are hawthorns, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I think these are weeping willow. It may be that you could add some more, these are near water sources, some more willows in through here. We need to take a look at the topography at some point in
Okay.
C2. But otherwise, I was fine with all the landscaping. I went through every one, I assure you. So.
I know.
Oops.
All right, here, I would like to get the board's opinion on the light that we selected, these two. And if you want me to come back with another one in 2 weeks, I will. The way this is set up is these are both 16 and 20. They're 20 in the back here, so even though they're 20 feet, they're still below the height of the building. And we doubled them back here to be efficient. And then these all along here are 16. And then these guys here are 12, and they run along here. And then there.
So
The lighting stats are right there, and these are LEDs at 3,000 K. So that's kind of down on the warmer side, so it's a brighter blue as you get higher.
our code, I believe, requires that lighting be 16 feet at the max rather than 20.
Right.
So you would need to request a relaxation of that standard
I was going to say that.
and provide some sort of rationale for why you're requesting it. Because that is a dimensional standard that we can vary rather than the zoning board of appeals.
The planning board can do that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We worked that out a while back too.
And then would you consider the ones along the sidewalk pedestrian?
Yeah, so Chris, go to the next slide.
Because
So this is
they're
what
at
it is.
a lower height as well.
But over pedestrian areas are supposed to be 12 feet. I believe we said
These are 12.
Those are 12.
Oh, I thought you said 16.
No.
Well,
No,
those were
16,
those street
16 on
ones.
the roadway, right?
On the roadway,
Right.
and then 20 in the back in the parking area.
20 in the back.
So the roadway, you're not considering pedestrian? No.
Go back. So we're 16,
You're doing 16 here,
yeah, there you go, on the right side there.
and then the 12 feet on this side.
I mean, this is a wide road, so we had to get the foot candles to work.
Just, again, if there's a sidewalk now along this side too, Or
No, no. It's
No, it's not
both
that.
sides on the drive.
Right, just to
And it
here.
crosses
Yep.
over.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yep.
So the only area where you would have pedestrians going underneath the 16-foot is this area?
Yes.
So just, again, you would request a relaxation of that standard, perhaps with the justification that it would look better to have all on one side and all on one side being matching. I don't know, I'm not trying to give you ideas. And of course, in the rear, if you could always, what we've heard before is, well, I think I'm dead. Nope, there we are. If you go to higher heights, you have more spread.
Yes.
So lower
And you
heights, you
use
need more
less.
lighting.
Yeah.
And-
So if we went lower here, we'd have to add more lights.
Right,
There
you
you go.
got it, that's
Can I
it.
hear
right there.
Michael?
Perfect, excellent. Excellent, we're good.
Sorry, I'm writing these for you, I know, sorry. Anyway, okay.
Or you could bring them into compliance.
Yes. What can you go to the next one so I can see what these look like? Do you guys like these? I've seen these around.
I've seen those, they're pretty cool.
I think they put these up at the high school when they revamped the.
They did. The new,
Yeah, and they're nice. They're quite bright, but they do not glow in your
Right.
face. They just,
Glare,
yeah, glare.
no glare.
I know
Yeah.
Mr. Sotero's comments was that they didn't look really historic. But to go back to the Hyde Park Lighting Committee when we had one 12 years ago, they suggested that we do the more industrial look in areas that are south of the original historic district. We're in the old historic district here, so that's why you have Victorian-style lampposts that none of us may really love, but because this was the time in which the buildings here were erected, they're here, but we're told to go to a more modern industrial look, and I think this fits the bill personally. Everybody agree? Good. One more down.
All right, well, we got one more. So there's the very, slim line, sleek, very powerful LED light.
And I saw your foot candles, they do go to 0 at the property
Yep.
edge.
Yeah. Chris, next one. This is the DOT, so we'll go ahead and add this sidewalk. We'll cross it here and then come down, swing around, cross it there. And then, this is all set. Once we get that all set, then Tom will do the rest of his work, which is all the traffic signals laying out.
Which I recall from our meeting with DOT is going to be a little bit complicated just because of all the easements you have to get, et cetera. But it's all doable according to them. I also just want to interject real quickly. I forgot, there was a meeting of a small group that's working on doing some rezoning around Pine Woods area. Larry Turk, who's the new superintendent of the national park sites here, of our 2 historic sites, mentioned today that he had to turn away 3 conventions recently that wanted to take place at our national historic sites because of lack of hotel room. I'm putting that in the record because occasionally I'm at the grocery store and we'll say, how come they're putting up that big old hotel? Is there demand? Yes. You wouldn't have come in here without knowing that there was a market demand for it. But today I got to hear it sort of right from the horse's mouth. 3 conventions he had to turn away because of lack of hotel space. So, there. Sorry, Mr. Boudreaux. Please continue.
Okay, next one. All right, so this was part of our submittal a couple months ago, but we came up with a mitigation phasing plan. Of course, we met and we, I listed all of that. And my question is, would you want to go over this in this setting or an offline meeting to discuss these items or whatever you're...
This is traffic mitigation phase?
No, all the rest of the mitigation.
Yeah, we talked about traffic, so not all the mitigation applies
Correct.
to this sub-phase.
Correct. So the question is could we have a small working group to meet on this topic as well and then come back and propose it to the larger group with the proviso that no decisions are made?
Right, I think so.
Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. So that would conclude our presentations, although I do have a note here on the variances, so...
I know you haven't started because you're still trying to work through what they're going to be.
Right, so...
Believe me, I know.
What we can do in this group...
Yes.
This group will nail down what they're going to be, and then we'll go for it.
Great. So it sounds like we could maybe even have a technical meeting as well as the mitigation meeting. If we can set that up, if it's not too long, your technical meeting.
Do it.
Just segue from one to the other.
Same day, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then, first again, thank you for being so agreeable to add those final changes to the architecture. I know that, I believe you said you were going to incorporate a trail portion into this? Is that just part of the mitigation that we'll be discussing, or did you actually show, I didn't see, did you show a section of the trail?
Go ahead. Go down. Next one, yeah. So, I'm going to show how it all coordinates with this big master plan here. There's a bike trail, there's a walking trail, there's a kind of a nature trail here, and we'll show all how we coordinate with that. But I'd like to get that plan plotted in color, laid out on a table, and we can go through it.
Great. Believe it or not, every point that I was going to make has been addressed
Awesome.
in advance. That never happens. Yay!
Wow.
Mr. Sotero, any other comments?
No.
Ms. Polidoro?
Just with respect to the variances, you know, certain things still have to be designed, such as the sewer shed. I mean, the board's gonna need to see all those things, and so personally, don't rush. I'm looking at
Okay, never mind.
December, January, being back with the zoning board, but
They have to see architectural elevations because of the potential impact from the variance on the existing surrounding community?
sure. I mean, a setback variance for something 2 feet high is different than a setback variance for something 40
Correct.
feet high.
Okay,
So they have a bit of work to do, and I was just pointing out, schedule-wise,
okay.
December submission would probably,
For the variance?
for me personally, be able to focus on it more.
Well, I think even looking at it objectively, that probably makes sense because this board is the lead agency. We're going to get comments back from the county. And I think as site plans get refined, there's always the possibility of an additional variance.
I
As
hope
said,
not, yes.
the most important thing for us is to only go once with a comprehensive package.
I agree.
And with some input on overall site planning and architecture, et cetera. So I think that's reasonable timing, purely objectively.
Really
Great.
objectively.
Anything else?
The board can consider referring this to county planning tonight. As we mentioned a bit earlier, they may kick it back for lack of signage, but at least we can get preliminary comments and get that process started.
Ms. Weiser, do you want to start? Comments?
I have no more comments. Thank you very much.
Mr. Murphy?
Well, I have a motion for referral, so I'd be in favor of,
Okay.
of referring it tonight.
We'll get to that in a moment. Let me just
I
go through
wanted
other
to
comments.
Thank
Yeah.
him for
There you go.
moving ahead so quickly.
Mr. Pickett?
I have two items. As we're coming up Route 9, are you gonna have a sign or something out in the south corner on Route 9? Any type of indicator besides the one that's up the main
I
intersection?
think that, so the corner is subject to an extra layer of restriction versus the area closer to the proposed driveway.
Right, there's nothing to be in a, well, I'm not going to be doing anything there right now.
Yeah.
Nothing can be put in an area that's wider, I think it's 250 feet
Yes.
off Dorsey.
This is a
So
really,
there wouldn't be anything allowed there, yeah. Plus, remember, you are going to see the building.
Yes, I understand.
But yes, I know what you mean, it'd be nice to have a sign.
Yeah, yeah.
someplace.
As you're coming up Route 9,
Coming up south
Dorsey
to
and whatever, even if
See
it
where it's
was
gonna be and, yeah.
right, you're talking about
yeah.
this area.
rock wall level or something,
Yeah.
just to
Right
what it
there.
was. Okay, so that's a big,
So, well, it's possible, it's just an extra layer of restriction versus the other
They
location.
did get a variance.
What's an extra layer among many?
And your second comment?
the second comment was, and this is just a personal sales, marketing, engineering type thing. When we're looking at the
Elevations?
elevations, the front one still, you know, it's hard to judge, but when you turn 145, like most people are gonna be coming up and seeing it, then they're not gonna stand out in front, looking straight at it and, you know, get hit by cars or whatever. I love the 45s, and I think as we carry it forward to wherever we're going with it, if we were to concentrate on the 45s and leave the 90s in the back pocket way.
For the
Just
submissions.
personal, for the submissions, yeah. Just personal opinion.
Thank you.
It shows a lot more rheology and,
Yep.
you know, with the shadowing and everything, it gives a lot more depth, and I think a lot more intrigue.
I agree with you. You can, because of the shadow, you can see it better. By the way, I love that you put curtains in all the windows last time. Ms. Dexter?
You like curtains?
I was waiting for someone to peek out from behind one of them.
I do like it.
I do too.
They'll put one of those in. I just want to say I'm really proud of my colleagues for being able to rein in all of our comments and then for your rapid response. This is really looking quite awesome. And thank you. This is, I mean, for all of the details that still have to be worked through, it looks like we have the right team in place, and you're just addressing everything as it comes up, and I really appreciate the thoroughness that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Mr. Oliver?
I just want to echo my colleagues. I think you guys did a fantastic job with, handling all of us and seeing, bringing our visions to life in such a timely manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to refer to county. Do you guys feel as though we're ready to set a public hearing? Maybe in a month, if not 2 weeks? I like to start getting public input, to be honest
Yeah,
with
the
you,
earlier the
early.
better, if we could.
Yeah, in a month, I think we'd be ready.
Okay.
Early.
So first, who has this file to read the resolution referring
That
to
would be
county?
me.
Thank you, Jan.
Isn't it yours?
Resolution number 2017-04A. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby refers the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for a report and recommendation thereon pursuant to section 239M of the General Municipal Law.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Great. Am I getting a motion to set the public hearing for November the 1st?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Hoyer, are we going to keep seeing you throughout the remainder of this?
Definitely, when we come to public hearings, I'm sure there'll be some comments about all the neon we're putting on the building.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's gotta be fun.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Welcome to Hyde Park.
Yeah, welcome to Hyde Park.
So
Yes.
I'm just gonna say that this is the public hearing on the site plan, and that we would set a public hearing on the subdivision a bit later after we complete secret.
Oh, right.
Right, because we don't, yes.
Right.
Do we need
Because
to,
we
do we
can't-
need to amend that resolution
No,
to
no,
be
no.
specific?
The
Okay.
motion was only to set a public hearing for site plan. I
Okay.
should clarify that, because if we're going to do secret, we have to do secret before the public hearing can begin in subdivision because of obscure case law. At any rate, thank you again. Have a nice night.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Jen. Thank you.
Poor guy's always cleaning.
River
up after.
Ridge, chapter 95.
The next item on the agenda is River Ridge. So, in essence, I emailed everybody but separately, so there was no conversation amongst that should have been subject to open meetings law. But in essence, the applicants have worked really hard to complete the pool, the sports court, we'll call it, as well as the clubhouse. And the way the approval was written earlier was they had to give the language for an easement so that when they dedicate the roads to the town, there would be a way for them to clean up, et cetera. Some of it's in town right of way. So the applicant requested, as you all received individually from their attorney, Mr. Rothschild, a way to move that resolution, or that condition, to when the road is offered. And as I pointed out, this would allow the residents, once they can, this would get them through our portion before they can get a CO. They still have to deal with Mr. Westermeyer and Ms. Moss, but otherwise, we'd remove that, so it would allow the residents to start using the clubhouse, because it's a little late for the pool, probably. In addition, I don't think it's a big deal, because the road's not going to be built and offered anytime soon, so the language, and they offered to give us a draft easement now.
They did offer to give us the draft language now, with the understanding that it would be finalized later,
Right.
which seems appropriate.
And that was the one item I was a little unclear on, so that would just kind of go into the file but be there.
It would be in the file. The language would be there, and hopefully it would be a good reminder so that when they are ready to go submit the road, and if it's 10 years from now and, there's a whole different group of people, they'll see this and say, oh yeah, this is something we have to do.
Right.
Well, we would hope that the attorney to the town board, whoever it is, whoever they are by that point, would catch that Yes, but we never know.
But it's a nice reminder. It's something just sitting in the file that says, yes, they thought of it.
Be a
And,
robot.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, who has this resolution? Would that be me?
No, I do.
Thank you.
Resolution to amend a condition precedent to issuance of a certificate of occupancy as set forth in resolution number 57-02M, River Ridge at Hyde Park Recreation Center. Resolution number 57-02P, whereas. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby amends resolution 57-02M to delete the second resolved clause and replace it with the following new clause. Be it further resolved that before the town board accepts dedication of the road as shown on the site plan set, the applicant shall submit an easement and maintenance agreement between the owner and the recreation center lot and the town for the parking spaces, sidewalk, curbing located in the proposed town right-of-way acceptable to the attorneys, to the planning board at the town board.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I should have also added another reason that I wanted to do this was because it's going to lengthen out the time before they could get their CO because Mr. Raplansky, the attorney of the town board, also has to review and accept this, and he's on a tight schedule these days, so I didn't want to add any more delay. The next item on the agenda, we have received a recommendation for waiver of site plan for Robert Pisty and Nancy Mulzone. Their home is located at 19 Valley View Road. It is in the scenic area of statewide significance, so it requires site plan, but we have a recommendation from Ms. Moss because the site is not visible from the river or either one of the two historic sites that give rise to the SASS. And as a reminder, we already granted a site plan waiver to the same site, but they've changed their mind and decided to do a different project. So any comments from the board? Who has this resolution?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you only get one.
Town of Hyde Park Planning Board Site Plan Waiver, Resolution Number 2017-39. Whereas an application requesting a waiver of site plan has been made to the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board by Robert Pisty and Nancy Mulzone on October 1st, 2017 for property located at 19 Valley View Road, Hyde Park. And whereas the application is to obtain approval for the construction of a screened-in porch and new vinyl siding in the Historic Overlay District. And whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board hereby waives site plan requirements for the file entitled Pisty, screened-in porch and siding regarding the specific request as submitted in the building permit application site sketch dated 9/5/17. Do I have a
Second.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Has everyone had a chance to review the planning board minutes for September 6th and September 20th?
Yep. Yes.
I have.
Making a motion to approve both.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're being very efficient tonight. And now I'm going to...
Did we need to note that Ann was not at, was...
Oh, Ann would not be voting at the
Right.
September 6th meeting.
Okay.
That's okay. We still have enough of a quorum. And I'll read Resolution 17-I, which is a motion to release planning board consultant escrows for the following projects: Big Meadow, Small World, 1636 Route 9G, Berry Bed and Breakfast, Minster Veterinary Clinic, Hutchins Staatsburg Storage, and Four Seasons Deli. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 were all signed, and they're already starting construction with the exception of Berry Bed and Breakfast. They haven't pulled their building permit yet, and Four Seasons Deli is an abandoned application.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Making a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, colleagues.
Nice.
Future is a traffic report, you know that.
Get some water before I clean up.
So,
Thanks.